All right, let's get a read on how this is sorting out for the former president and indeed the current occupant of the Oval Office. The read on that right now from some pretty smart folks. Doug Schoen is a Democratic strategist and pollster, former Clinton economic advisor, period, I should say. Chris Wilson, WPA intelligence CEO, a GOP pollster. Chris, begin with you on this notion you have from Donald Trump. I'm going to keep fighting at this. Look at my poll numbers. I've got the nation behind me on this. Hasn't telegraphed whether he'll participate in the Fox debate in a few weeks, but he might be tempted in these developments. What do you think?
Well, look, we're on a business network. I think it's important to kind of begin with the economy and the effect it's having, because what is frustrating to me about all the charges that are piling up on Trump is by the time we get out of August, it seems pretty certain he'll be facing 4 indictments in 2 states in federal courts. Any other Republican nominee right now would be looking at this race as a cakewalk and come next November. But where it seems to be is we're heading into a situation where Donald Trump's legal troubles are going to take up the momentum or the entire litany of coverage. And you also look at the Trump campaign, they're spending all of their campaign cash right now on legal defense. He's going to be so bogged down in trials come campaign season, that's all voters are going to see from him. And, Donald Trump was probably the only guy who could have lost to the basement non-Biden campaign in 2020. He's probably the only one of the Republican candidates who can lose to Biden twice. And so I'm more frustrated by that than I am the issues of whether he's been charged with or not charged with, to be candid with you, Neil.
That's why you like Ron DeSantis, right?
That's why I like Ron DeSantis. I think if he's the nominee, he wins going away, and it kind of puts this race away early. But you can't say that about Trump.
All right. Well, it depends on the poll. It's still early, but you don't know. But you raise a lot of good issues. Doug, the one that I have that I think Republicans are maybe underappreciating or maybe just trying to ignore for the time being is drip, drip, steady as she goes. These economic numbers continue to come in pretty well. I'm not saying off the charts, but again, more job growth, 13.5 million jobs has the president cited today, referring to this latest employment report. The market's been, sort of stabilizing itself. Corporate earnings are coming in better than expected. They think, when I talk to their economic officials, what they're saying, Doug, is that trend will be our friend. It'll take root and take traction. And by election day, Americans will be feeling pretty good. That's their take. What do you know?
Well, it is their take. It's been their take, Neil, for a while, but the polling doesn't bear it out. Joe Biden's approval is in the low 40s. His economic approval is in the mid to high 30s. And a poll out yesterday from our rival network, CNN, said 51% are negative on the direction of the economy. So it could well happen, but my sense is it's probably not going to be as substantial an uptick as the Biden folks want. Right now, with the poll numbers you put on the screen, we're basically back to where we were on Election Day in 2020, with Joe Biden with the ever smallest possible lead, but effectively a dead heat.
I'd be curious what you think, Chris, if the former president, makes the debate, next month, later this month. He might put all the other, candidates under some pressure and say, all right, do you think the government is overdoing it on me? Now, a few will stand out, like Chris Christie, maybe former Congressman Hurd, if he makes the cut. Right. Asa Hutchinson, if he makes the cut. They might just start saying, this is of your own making. Or others would be intimidated enough to say, yeah, they are piling on you in a no-win situation. How do you think that goes? How do you think our Governor DeSantis responds?
Well, I think they've kind of all given their comments about their feelings regarding the charges, and I think Governor DeSantis is the one person who stepped forward with a plan to undo the politicalization of the Justice Department early on. I think Donald Trump owes it to Republican primary voters to debate. I think he's afraid to debate. He knows what he'd be up against. He does know that you do have the Chris Christies and the Will Hurds, should he make it, that would go right after him. But I also don't think he wants to be in a situation where he has to talk about issues with Governor DeSantis, who actually has a track record that matches up pretty well, but whether it's COVID, whether it's economy or anything else. Let me do also, Let me agree with what Doug said. And I'll tell you the thing about the economy here and why it matters and why I disagree with the assessment of the Biden administration is the economy is the number one issue, but it's not a jobs issue, Neil. As you know, it's an inflation issue. And even with the rate of inflation slowing now, the Fed has raised rates, and the average American is way behind where they're on their paycheck. They're seeing their house payment go up. Anyone who's made the unfortunate mistake of getting a variable rate mortgage is in real trouble right now. And that's the issue that's frustrating voters. And today's job report is not good. If we slip into a recession, it's a double whammy out there. And I'll point out again, the ones with jobs are struggling to pay for things. The ones, if we go into recession, it means the ones who don't have jobs won't be able to find them. And it really puts Biden in a tough spot. And again, Donald Trump is the one candidate he could probably be, which is why Biden is so fortunate that Trump is going through the situation he is right now, which probably does help him.
Doug Schoen, very quickly, he brings a very interesting point because no matter the economy and inflation coming off its worst levels, rates are higher. And, of course, when you're in an increasing rate environment, as we could be, even maybe up until Election Day, that's generally bad for the incumbent. Not all the time, but most of the time. Does that create a problem for Joe Biden? He's got to hope the rate hikes are over or close to over.
I think it does. I agree with Chris's analysis that the best asset that Joe Biden has is probably not the economy, but Donald Trump and swing voters and suburban voters. I think have had it with him, and a large number are basically going to say this is just too much. Republican primary looks pretty good. General election is going to be problematic for the same reasons the midterms were problematic. Swing voters, suburban voters, independents.
Yeah. You know, when I was younger, I used to say when they said swing voters, they were swinger voters. And I thought, well, that's an odd group to sort out. But I now understand, gentlemen. So thank you both very much. Have a good and safe weekend. They're not swinger voters. They might be swing voters who swing. I digress.